Good morning, everybody. Let's get this meeting kicked off. Good morning to you online. Hey, Monty, IJ Rel, Tom, Tracy, Monette, Jake, Brian, and Sarah. Go ahead. If the camera's not on, you're in a place where you can. Go ahead and turn it on. Let's start off today like how we do every week. I know there's wins in the room, so I'll call you out if you do not volunteer. But tell me something good. What good happened last year? Any new agents, any new leads, any new buyers, sellers, closings? What do we got?
You go first.
No, you.
No, you.
All right. I have something to share.
Go ahead. What's your name?
It's Zach from EXP. And look, I have a little award that I
For those who can't see online, what is it you won?
I'm a Stars Club winner. My first year.
Thank you in his first year.
Incredible.
It's hard not to, but yeah.
The accent though, I'd buy a house for him.
It is, yeah. That's why she loves me. Anyway, that's it.
All right. I think you had something you wanted to share, Jen?
Yes. So I had a call come in on Tuesday night at like 7 p.m. Set up a showing for the next day. They're from the area at like, it was a referral. 10:30 a.m. By the next day, they had already had an offer and were encounters. By the next offer, got accepted the same day in contract for $50,000 below the list price.
Wow.
The other offer got livid and came back in his backup position at full price. But my clients, I went yesterday and the wife hadn't seen the house and I still got the offer accepted. She's crying in the kitchen, petting the counters.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, you're not gonna need the backup offer. We're good. So that was, I will say, a relationship. The only reason I got that accepted is because it's Gail DeMarco and Val Turner, who are also with EXP, who I'm good friends with. They told me what the seller wanted, what to write it up with. It's the first contract, and I don't know how long that I got accepted the same day and didn't get drug out. So all I have to say is relationships,
Beautiful.
Everything in this business. So
Absolutely. Did you mention, I don't know if I missed it because we had some camera tech issues, but how did you get that lead in the first place?
go to the gym with his sister. So
there you go. So Sphere.
Yeah, Sphere, all cash buyer from the Bay Area, buying it as a second home, like $1.8 million up in an equine community. So
beautiful.
So I get to wear my Wranglers and cowgirl boots to it too.
There you go. It's made perfect for you.
Amazing, Jen.
Jenna's going.
Right,
I
Jenna?
have something crazy that happened yesterday. So I have my buyers in contract on a listing in Southeast Sat, and it was listed for $429. We got in contract for $440. The appraisal came back yesterday at $600,000.
Oh, what?
Whoa.
$600,000. This realtor, he is very condescending. Acts like he knows everything. Well, clearly he doesn't know how to run comps. So I can't wait to tell him after.
I hope that is.
Oh my God.
Oh, hey, oops! I accidentally sent you the appraisal.
By the way,
bad.
you need to go to your lender and find out how big of a credit he can get. Then go back and get the largest credit you can from the seller and use it to buy down the interest rate.
He or she. Maybe the lender's a girl.
Unfortunately.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, that's hard words, Barry.
We're winning. All right. Anybody else online? Anybody online have anything they want to share? Go ahead, just shout it out. If not, we will get rocking and rolling with the rest of today.
I want to brag on Haley really quick.
Okay.
We're trying to get this client in escrow, and we have to do Cal HFA, and of course, obviously, there's other offers. Haley Bulger, and Haley's so cute because she calls the agent and she's like, I'll drive down there and take pictures, because there's concern about paint chipping or whatever the case may be. But just so her willingness, the listing agent, when I talked to her, was so impressed. She's like gung-ho. I'm all, no, she will do whatever it takes to make it work. And the buyer was willing to do whatever repairs were needed. But I think we're going to get it just in the simple fact that, yes, they didn't want FHA, right? A lot of people are scared of that. But I explained, can we at least try? And then worst case, I can flip the appraisal convention when there's a problem. And once she realized that that was an option, she was way more open. But to be honest, it's rare that I'm getting stuff called. It's not very common like it used to be. It's very rare that appraisers are really, it has to be so blatantly obvious that it's like, okay guys, but for the most part, it's very rare. So it sounds like, when I hang out with the listing agent, I think we have a phenomenal chance, but she was so impressed with Haley and her willingness to brainstorm solutions that I think, if anything, that'll be the reason we get it.
Fantastic.
So
That's
I was
awesome.
impressed.
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw a hand. Since you're speaking, you want to give us the market update? What's happening in the wonderful world of
So,
lending?
on a good note, rates have been getting, honestly, a chunk better than they were. Today on that Cal HFA program I've been bringing up to everybody, it's called My Home, it's down to 4.625 for clients who only have 3% down, and that's with no points to the buyer. So a lot of clients are getting quoted 5.5 up to 6%. So 4.625, and they just have to be a first-time home buyer, but they can make $180,000 a year and get that program. And it's on Cal HFA's website. But I've been using that tool. And this week in particular, I did use the line of credit option, because I think I mentioned this last week, that now line of credits are back up to 17% of the value of the home. So you can do an 80-17, just like back in the day we used to do 80-20s. We're so close, we're 80-17. But that avoids the mortgage insurance, so it saves $300 a month. Then, because the second's interest only, shaves off another $200 a month. So now you just shaved $500 off the payment. That's $100 grand in your buyer's purchase price. And the crazy thing is that HELOC goes to 50% DTI. So it came out a week ago, and I've been using it all week trying to reprice everyone, which I have to say, give your lender a second, because it takes a good 45 minutes every time you try to go through each file. But it's been getting people $40,000-$50,000 more in price, and so it's working. So it is working. So if you do have people that are stuck, it's a great reason to go, hey, great news, rates are getting better, because they are. It's about 1/4% better right now. So rates have been getting better. Let's recheck in on your payment. I've been hearing solutions of $500 in savings. Oh, I do not want to forget. The reason I'm dressed this way. So Monday, another local nonprofit, Shine with Purpose, and then my nonprofit, Wild Heart Ranch, we're getting together to do a memorial and honor, or meet for Memorial Day to honor our fallen soldiers. There's going to be a military flyover, and there's going to be stuff for the kids, food. There's going to be Miss Ag America, Little Miss Ag America, and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and they're doing a little show for us. But it's a great thing to call all your database. Or if you want a better copy of this flyer, send it to your database and go, hey everybody, what are you doing for Monday? I'd love to spend some time with you, but it's free for you guys. And you can invite your clients. And so it's a really great opportunity to make phone calls. So I wanted to share this. So I'll post it on the Brent Gove team page, because it's a nonprofit, so it's a good cause, and it's a great way to spend time and have them bring their kids. So it's not at my ranch, but Morgan Oaks Eternal Preserve, sorry. It's the same owner as Triple Crown, if you guys are familiar with that big ranch. And so he has been letting Mindy do all these cool events there. And it's, it's free to the public. It's really just giving back to the community. But again, it's a great way to have invite your clients and for free, and invite them to something that they'll enjoy. So.
And make phone calls.
Huh?
And make phone calls.
Yes.
I love those.
Yes. I like to call people. It's my favorite thing to do, but it's a great excuse to call everybody. Hey, I'm so excited. What are you doing this weekend? And invite them out.
Alicia, would you mind? By the way, I was not even fazed with how you were dressed. I thought
Okay.
that just did not even faze me.
Best overalls I've ever seen.
Yeah. I was like, Valerie's gonna want those. Want to match your style.
Did you see the boots going
I have not
too?
seen the boots.
She's got the whole outfit going.
But we're gonna have the horses there and flags, and we're gonna do tricks for the kids and let the kids pet the horses. So it's gonna be fun. I think we're gonna have like 6 horses out there.
Awesome.
That'll be a good time.
The 80-17-3.
Yes.
That is a lot of numbers, and there were a lot of acronyms used.
Yes.
Would you mind just explaining it in writing up
Please,
here on the
yes, absolutely.
on the board?
And I know I take it for granted because I know these things too well, but so for the new people, what happens is you can do a first mortgage of 80% of the value of the home. So I don't have a calculator brain, but what is 80% of 400,000?
Well, 600 would be 480, and then the payment on that would be 2750.
So if we did an 80% first at 480, and then the second, let's say, would be 120,000 as an example. So what happens when you break it up into two, 80% and 17, oops, that's actually the full 20. Well, whatever. The point is Anytime you borrow over 80% on a mortgage, they want to give you mortgage insurance. So it builds into the monthly payment. Now your monthly payment goes up. On a $600,000 house, you're talking $400 a month, and it makes a significant portion of the payment.
80% of 480,000 is 384,000.
Oh, okay, so that's okay. What is 17% of 600?
81,600.
17% is, okay. 81,600, okay.
Oh, 600,000?
And I know that doesn't make sense.
I have
either.
102. It's 102.
You guys.
Let her just give the
Yeah,
concept, the
it's
numbers don't
okay,
matter.
yeah.
102,000.
The numbers don't matter. So 80% of the value in a first mortgage, so one loan, okay?
I can't figure
Well,
out.
look,
Now-
guys, you're missing it. You're missing it.
Now-
Guys, pay attention.
Yep, now we add a second loan up to 17% of the value, so you have two loans borrowing 97% of the total value. So the client's only putting 3% down, okay? Because the first mortgage does not go over 80%, you avoid the mortgage insurance altogether.
So it's like the old school ones that they used to do.
100%. So you save 400 right here, roughly, not having mortgage insurance. The second way to save, most mortgages are principal as well as interest required in the payment. The new HELOCs have only interest only required, which makes it extremely low. It's typically like another $200 savings at least on the payment. So now we're up to almost $600 savings in the payment. That's equivalent to $100,000 in the purchase price. So if recently your clients got cut down in their purchase price because of the rates going up, you can call them all super excited like, oh my God, lenders are getting creative. Guess what? Now we can do this without mortgage insurance. The other good reason to utilize this is if when you have people who go, well, I want to be non-contingent. I don't want to sell first. Okay, that's fine. Can you pinch together 3%, like your 401k or whatever? And typically they can pay the 401k back within 60 days and not have a penalty. But it allows people to put the 3% down, move in, sell, pay the second off if they want. And then it becomes available. It's like a giant credit card. So it's a line of credit. So as they pay it off, the payment goes down with the balance. The payment's always based on whatever the balance is at the time. If the balance is zero, the payment is zero. But if 5 years from now they want to put a pool in, they can write a check and use the line of credit and put a pool in. It's a revolving line of credit for 10 years. And at the 10-year mark becomes a principal and interest amortized loan. So this may not be a permanent solution for people, but it's a great temporary solution to get them in the door so that they can gain equity and eventually go back to just one loan. It is based on the prime rate, which is the rate that keeps moving, but if it's only, interest only, it's a minimal adjustment to their payments. It's not going to make a big difference, but the biggest savings is not having mortgage insurance. That's the biggest savings for our buyers. So these are just some of we got 3 new products this week. Like the banks are counteracting all these hurdles we're facing with a brand new loan program here and a brand new, So encourage your buyers like, hey, I know you put it on hold, but I'm gonna keep you informed because they keep coming out with these really cool new opportunities every week. Do you mind if I check back with you next week with anything new that comes out? So I always try to just keep that door open with the client, like, oh, I know you're gonna put it on hold, no big deal. I'm not gonna pressure you, but I will keep you informed when these new cool opportunities come out. And that way they go, okay, no problem then, But keep that door open because stuff will keep coming, which is really fun.
Quick question, who are you using for the equity line loan?
I don't remember the name off the top of my head. Something with a sink and something with a key in there somewhere. I save it as second mortgage company. That's how I have it in my outlet. So, but I don't off the top of my head. I can get it to you, Roxanne. Just text me. Now I won't forget.
Awesome. Wasn't that good, guys? Give Elise a round of applause. We have a special guest in the building too, Miss Heather, with she's the title rep for the team. Heather, would you mind standing up, introducing your guest, whose name I can never remember?
Hi, I'm Heather Derborough with Chicago Title. I'm a sales executive for them. And this is my partner, whose also name is Heather.
Easy.
This is Heather Beerworth that I wanted to introduce you guys to. She has a great EXP following, but I've never brought her to the meetings. So here she is.
Here are the Heathers.
The Heathers. So
Awesome.
yes, I'll put her contact info on the team page as well, and you can reach out to either one of us to get hooked up with all our goodies.
Perfect. Anybody have any title questions while they're standing and ready to go?
Why do you need title insurance?
Relating to Chicago title, do you know a Heather Guard?
No, what branch? We have 4 Heathers in our Tri-County region, but Heather Guard is not.
Citrus Heights. I believe she was my transaction coordinator for the selling agent. And do you know who Sherry Suddy is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked with her before.
Awesome. She is incredible. And anyone can work with any of our escrow officers in the Tri-County region, and we can handle any transaction in California, here locally.
Awesome. Thank you, Heathers.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, Zach had an actual
Hey,
good
girl.
question.
I thought it was a good question. She thought it was.
I think it's a great question.
Thanks. Okay, I'm sorry. So I had someone say, well, why do we need title insurance? Well, I just said, well, it's for liens, but do you have any other good things to say to
It's technically
overcome that objection?
optional, but it's rare that someone declines it, and it's protecting everything that happened in the past prior to your buyer taking ownership. So if long lost heirs come into place, or if the title company missed a lien or a judgment from the previous owner that wasn't paid off. So like car insurance, life insurance, health insurance, that's protecting you from any future events. Title protects you from the past. And typically title insurance is paid, it's all negotiable, but typically the seller pays it. So why a buyer would decline it is super rare.
Good question, though.
Or like if you had, doesn't it also cover like if you had like a contractor did work on it but they didn't submit any kind of stuff like that? Like it just protects them from stuff that they may not have knowledge of, and it protects their investment. Like why would you buy a house without?
Because you can put a lien on anyone's
Or
house,
yeah,
anyone.
or like if think of it kind of like almost like gap insurance or something like that. It just protects your investment.
All right. Hey, we got a couple of events I want to make sure that we get to. Next week, we are not meeting here. We're going to be meeting at PCAR. Raise your hand if you have not registered for this event yet. Right? So we can see a couple people in the room. The event is free. Same time next week over at PCAR. It's going to be an incredible event because they're going to teach us how to sell more houses. If you're selling $20 million, what if you go to 40? If you're selling $2 million a year, what if you go to 4? Right? What if just attending this one event put an extra $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 in your pocket? Right? Totally worth a couple hours every time. Can we agree?
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, Hermes.
Where's the event?
It's at PCAR. So just go to Eventbrite and look up how to build a $100 million sales team, or text me, and I can get you the link. It's at Placer County Association of Realtors.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, man. And then another event that's happening today over at Powerhouse is a networking event titled Power Hours. A lender and an insurance agent are throwing it on. It'll be a fun time, and if you like smoking cigars, you can smoke cigars at this event. So I will be there. And this is also free. Barry brought this to me. I'll toss it into the into the Brent Gove Facebook page. And then just week 8, quarter 2 market update on interest rates, home prices, investors. Some great talking points. We're going to talk with clients and about what's happening in the market, maybe put it into a newsletter, maybe make a video out of it. So thank you, Barry. Barry, anything you want to talk about this?
I don't want to take much time. If you go to our Exponential Agent YouTube channel, you've got me there talking about it.
Okay.
If you want it, check it out. If not, I don't want to take time in the meeting.
All right, let's just go so everybody knows.
Yeah, I'm all excited.
Did I spell that right, Barry?
It's Agent Network.
Exponential Agent Network.com. Not like I know what it is. It's mine, but I don't know.
Well, if I can't find it,
That's it right down there.
there we go. And where are you talking about it?
I'm a subscriber.
Yeah.
Which?
Yeah, I'll become subscribed to you.
Yeah, subscribe. Give Barry smash the subscribe button, as they always say on the freaking YouTube. Which one is it? Which one is it, Barry?
I was just told it's not up there, so I.
All right, well, hey guys, this is where you go.
What's the one on the right?
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, we're gonna put it in the chat box for all of you online. If you want to follow Barry, smash that subscribe button.
Smash that subscribe.
All right, that's what they all say. I don't know why, but that's what they all say.
Say smash it, I missed that one.
All right, well, with that,
I don't know, I'm not very cool, so that's all I don't.
with that, we have our speaker today, local legend. God bless you, Mr. Eric Lawphone. Eric Lawphone, give him a round of applause.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So who would be up for experiencing a breakthrough today by a show of hands? All right, I've got the right crowd here. So I'm going to see if I can share a couple of insights with you today that could be potentially transformational. And my opening statement, if you're a note taker, you might jot it down, is we create our reality with our language. We create our reality with our language. So when I get on the phone with you on a coaching call, a common thing that you might say is, I'm inconsistent with my prospecting. So just out of curiosity, is there anybody here in the room that's inconsistent with their prospecting? Okay. So if you connect with that, if you're like, yes, that's me, at least I'm good at something, right? So if you connect with that, that thought is going to create a certain reality. And if you change the thought, then you're going to change what happens in reality. So from 2 months ago I weighed 210. Today I weighed 193. So how did I go from 210 to 193? I changed the way I was eating. So if I change the way I'm eating, then I change my results. So if you change the way you're thinking, you change your results. And so you've all heard of affirmations, right? We've heard of affirmations, okay? Well, I want to give you a very interesting insight. It's the distinction between an affirmation and a declaration. So an affirmation is words, things we say, and you've all been probably taught affirmations, and a lot of you have said them. So you might say, you know, I'm a listing expert. You might say that, right? Or listing machine. That's right. Or you might say, you know, I'm a prospecting master, right? You say these things. Or for fitness, you might say, I'm lean and fit, right? If I say I'm lean and fit and I'm eating at McDonald's, am I being lean and fit?
No. You're being sick.
I'm not being lean and fit. I'm saying the words, but I'm not being it. It's like if you say, how many of you in the room realize, you know what, I really should be going to bed earlier. I should be going to bed earlier. Anybody connect with that? Okay. So if you say, I really need to go to bed earlier, but you're not going to bed earlier. And then what a lot of people do, so an affirmation is words, a declaration is a way of being. A declaration is a way of being. So here's what a lot of people do, and I'm going to see if I can give you a breakthrough right now. I know I need to go to bed at 10 o'clock, or fill in the blank, whatever your time is. I know I need to go to bed at 10, but what comes after that?
I'm tired.
But I don't do it. But I don't do it. But I got to play Candy Crush. I got to get my Candy Crush in.
Brush your teeth.
Okay? I got to fill in the blank. Whatever it is that you do at night when it's time to go to bed. So what you do is you say, I know I need to do it, but I don't do it. And that's your declaration. That's the way of being. You're living into that language. Without realizing, you're literally programming your brain on what to do. So, agent attraction. How many of you here would like to be doing more agent attraction for your EXP business? Okay? So just notice, take a look inside. What's your language around it? Right? The language might be, I know I need to be doing more agent attraction, but I'm too busy, fill in the blank. Or I need the short-term cash flow. I got to go out and do the real estate deals because I need the cash. Can anybody relate with that? Need the cash flow. So I'm going to put the agent attraction on the back burner. I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm saying it as a notice. Because the reality is to reach out to an agent and invite them to the PCAR meeting. If you sent them a text or a Facebook message or email, whatever, however you invite them, how long do you think it would take for you to invite an agent?
2 seconds.
Okay, so I'm going to say, even though you could probably do it in 2 seconds, I'm going to say to invite somebody to the PCAR meeting, it'd probably take you, call it 2 minutes. So if you invited 5 people to the PCAR meeting a day, 5 days a week, how many minutes a day would it take you to invite 5 agents a day based on what I just taught you? 10 minutes a day. So as busy as you are doing real estate to make the cash flow come in, which I understand, do you also have 10 minutes a day? Is everybody with me on that? Okay. So if you're not doing agent attraction and you want to do agent attraction, go back to we create our reality with our language. So here's the hurdle that some of you are facing. How many of you have been real estate agents for at least 10 years? At least 10 years. A lot of you, okay? And even if you haven't been an agent for 10 years. So for 10 years or longer, you've been trained to be an agent. Go to the open house, negotiate the contract, all the things, the conversation that you have as a real estate agent. Prior to EXP, how much agent attraction conversations were you in? You weren't in any. So we're now having to change a pattern in how you think. So you've been thinking for a decade or however long you've been doing it. So would we all agree that Brent is the master of agent attraction?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you guys know that Brent has a recruiting background prior to being in real estate? Okay. So he already had the mindset. So when he came into the business, he didn't have to then lift the weights to develop the mindset because he already had the mindset. But if you didn't have that mindset coming in, what I would advise you to do is to have language to support the agent attraction that you want to create. So I want you to think about 2 declarations. One declaration is for your real estate business. So it could be, I am a top producing real estate agent. It could be, I'm a listing machine. It could be whatever it is that you want to create. And then the second one would be, if you want to do agent attraction, having a declaration around agent attraction. So remember the difference between affirmation and declaration? Affirmation is words. Declaration is a way of being. So what you do is you start getting your language in alignment with what you want to create as a declaration. Now here's what a lot of people do, because I do these coaching calls, so I get on the phone with you guys and I get to hear about what you're thinking, right? And so here's one that I don't think this person's in the room, but they got on a call with me recently. And they said, Eric, I have the shiny object syndrome. Here's the problem. As a declaration, they're programming their brain to struggle with focus, and they're creating it with their language. So I don't bite my fingernails anymore, but for 4 decades I did. And so I didn't want to bite them anymore. So I would quit for 3 or 4 days, and then I'd just start right back up again. And so I would quit, and then I'd quit for 3 or 4 days, and then I'd start right back up again. As a declaration. In other words, I was claiming that. I was declaring, I want to quit, I'm going to quit for 3 or 4 days, then what was I instructing my brain to do? Start right back up again. And so then I would go into that pattern. I go, I can't figure it out. I don't understand why I can't quit biting my nails, because I keep programming my brain to not quit biting my fingernails, and I can't figure it. Do you guys get what I'm saying? Any procrastinators in the room? Any procrastinators? Okay. It was kind of a trick question, right? You're resonating. If I say if you're a procrastinator, you're resonating with that language pattern. Okay? You're living into that declaration. Now the reality is you might have mislabeled it. In other words, I'm talking to this woman one time, and she tells me that she's a procrastinator. And we're talking, and I went to Sierra College across the way for 5 years. You're supposed to go for 2. Okay, I went for 5. I'm a couple of units shy of that elusive AA degree. So I'm talking to this woman. She goes, I'm a procrastinator. We're talking. And then a little bit later on in the conversation, she goes, and I graduated from UCLA with a double major in 4 years. And I was like, wow, that's impressive. I said, I need to mention something to you though. And she goes, what's that? I said, earlier in the conversation, you told me that you're a procrastinator. She goes, yeah, I am. I said, no, you're not. You graduated with a double major in 4 years. You're not a procrastinator. I think what she did is she mislabeled. Her brain functions best on deadlines. So it's not that she's a procrastinator. It's just she responds to deadlines, but she's been walking around in the world in her body saying, I'm a procrastinator. So I was talking to this woman recently, and she was not connecting with being a great mom. And I said, well, why would you say that? And she told me, well, and she gave me one example of one area where she, quote unquote, fell short with her parents. She had 100 other ways that she was being a great mom. And I told her, I said, listen, if God was here right now talking to you about your being a mom, he'd give you an A+. So you fell short in one thing. So what's she focusing on? She's focusing on where she's falling short versus all the extraordinary things that she was doing. And I told her this. I said, my mom, when I was 10, my mom moved away and I ended up living with my dad and my stepmom. And that's a story for another day. But my mom essentially deserted my sister and I. I said, not only did you not desert your kids, you've been there for your kids this whole time. And this woman, she's just an extraordinary mom. But she didn't see herself as that. You guys get that? Mm-hmm. In other words, you have levels inside of you that maybe you're not acknowledging or seeing the extraordinary human being that you are. And so then all of a sudden you see it, and it's like, oh, that's who I am. So you change your language and you change your reality. We create our reality with our thoughts. So some of you say I'm a procrastinator. Some of you say I'm easily distracted. I'm easily distracted. I have a hard time with focus. Some of you say that. Let me ask you this. Do you think Brent walks around going, I'm easily distracted? He doesn't. One of the things about Brent, maybe he'll speak to this because I think he's going to talk in a little bit if he's with us on Zoom. I'm going to give you one word about Brent because I'm co-host on the Brent Gove podcast, so I get to hang out with Brent. And every couple weeks we spend some time together. One thing about him that you can model is he is intentional. And what he does is he takes time out, and he's a yellow tablet guy. You can do it on a computer, a journal, or whatever the case may be. He takes time out, and he thinks about what he wants to create with intention. And then he writes it down. And he prioritizes his life. Faith, family, somewhere in there is his career, fun. He has these things that he works on, and he's built them into his life. So that's something to think about. The intention of what it is that you want to create. Here's another one that this guy's making over $200,000 a year as an EXP producer. I'm on a coaching call with him. So this guy's a star. He's making significant six figures. And he says, I block out 4 to 5 to prospect every day, but I never do it. As a declaration. So if he blocks out 4 to 5 today, and he doesn't do it, he's like, well, that's just who I am. There I go again. I didn't do it. There's no red flag going on in his brain going, I need to follow through and do this. And so what he's doing is he's not being his agreement with himself. And so this is something I want you to think about. I want you to start noticing what are the agreements that you're making with yourself and with others. So my agreement today was to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I got up at 5:15.
You don't get up already?
No,
Okay.
wow, we're real estate agents. I don't do that anymore.
That's what you do real estate too.
Okay, so that's a declaration. Right?
Tricked you.
He says, I don't do that anymore. Nothing wrong with that, and it's not a criticism. But you start listening to what it is that you're saying. Listening to how you're describing yourself. Listening to anything in your life that you're wanting to see an improvement, and notice what is the declaration around that. Not a criticism. You're an awesome guy, right? I wasn't saying, well, look at me, I got up at 5:15. Who didn't get up that early? Here's the point. I had an agreement with myself. And the agreement was to do what? Get up at 5. So what did I not do? I wasn't my agreement. So I don't change it and go, I'm supposed to get up at 5 every day, but I don't do it. And that's what a lot of people do. I'm supposed to do blank, but I don't do it. So, here's the question. What do you do when you don't follow through? Right? You're like, I'm going to do 10 reach outs a day to grow my real estate business. 5 for transactions and 5 for agent attraction. So let's say you declare that this is what you're going to do. So you declare that, and then you do what I did. You don't do it. Even though still good, I got up at 5:15, but I wasn't my word. I wasn't my agreement with myself. So now I want you to think about, what do you do when you don't follow through? What do you do to yourself when you say, I'm going to do this, and you don't follow through? What do you think a lot of people do?
Eat ice cream.
Beat yourself up.
That's right.
Lashings.
That's right. There you go. That's the pattern. The pattern is, I didn't do it, there I go again. Screwed up again. Can't even follow through. Negative self-talk. I am my harshest critic. As a declaration. A lot of people, that's how they operate. I am my harshest critic. Now, I am my harshest critic can still produce extraordinary results. You could be a high-producing person and still be your harshest critic. But here's the challenge. If you're your harshest critic, what do you think that does to your self-esteem? It chips away at your self-esteem. It erodes how you feel about yourself. So now you go into this listing presentation and you're going up against one of the superstars in the region, and you know you're going up against them, and you're thinking, how in the world am I going to compete with so-and-so?
Sorry, not this.
You won't. Okay.
Right? So if we're not feeling good about ourselves, if we're not loving ourselves, and then we're our harshest critic. So what I want to invite you to consider as a declaration, here's mine, and you guys can use this one. I am my number one cheerleader. I am my number one cheerleader. If I'm, not as an affirmation, not as words, as a way of being. If I'm being my number one cheerleader, then what am I not going to do? I'm not going to do negative self-talk. Because I'm being that. So I'm the guy that went to community college down the road for 5 years and didn't graduate. I used to work up the road at McDonald's, and I worked there for 3 years. In my first year in sales, I was a bottom producing salesperson. So I was the opposite of confident. And I learned, like what I'm teaching you guys today. I learned different ways of thinking. So it's not that I was born confident and my dad I didn't grow up with this dad that taught me all this stuff. My dad didn't teach me any of this stuff. My dad did what he did, but he didn't teach me what I'm teaching you guys right now. Let me ask you this. How many of you, you're finding this conversation valuable? Okay? Start listening to how Brent talks. Start listening to what he's saying, because he's declaring these things. And then all of a sudden they're happening. Right? Okay. So I want you to consider a real estate declaration and an agent attraction declaration. So real estate for your producing, and then agent attraction. Right now, Brent's declaration right now around real estate producing is probably what? I don't produce anymore, right? Because he's in a different season, a very unique season because of the organization that he's built. So when he came over to EXP, he had to split time, however he did it, sometime on real estate transactions, getting cash flow, and sometime on agent attraction. And I think he would tell you that he intentionally decreased his real estate transactions. He did it on purpose. Why would he do that on purpose? To have more time to build up the business. Okay? So this was all done with intention. So one of the things that I told Brent, and I think me just saying this to him helped motivate him to want to add me onto the team, is as a declaration, I am the Zig Ziglar of my generation. And I started declaring that at age 28 when I launched my training company, and nobody had heard of me. So I wasn't trying to be the top sales trainer in San Diego where I lived at the time. I wanted to go out and do this on a global level. So that was a declaration. I didn't understand what declarations were, but I started living into that declaration. So I want you to think about that for your real estate business. And what if you came up with a declaration, and maybe it's 2 transactions a month? That's what you're up to. Hey, if I'm doing 24 a year, that's great. Some of you in the room, maybe that would speak to you. Maybe it's owning your farm, and you create a declaration around that. But I want you to think about not an affirmation, but a declaration that you could live into, because I believe that could change your life. Okay? Anybody in the room married? Anybody in the room married? Okay, so here's a little marriage
But mine's in prison right now.
Here's a marriage declaration for you. So I'm talking to this person the other day, and their marriage isn't doing so great. And so I asked him, the husband, this question. Is your wife the most important person in the world to you? That was the question. And I said to him, my wife is the most important person in the world to me. So if that's a declaration, my actions are going to be consistent with declaring that. So just something for you to, I'm not going to ask anybody to raise your hand or anything, but just something to check in on is that how you feel about your spouse? And if you don't, you might think about, consider that. Because if you make your spouse the most important person in the world to you, then your actions are going to be that. Now think of it like this. I think of my wife or women as a flower. So if you got the flower, you're nurturing the flower, you're loving on the flower, you're going to have this beautiful, beautiful flower.
Or weed.
Okay?
Hey now.
So if I'm being that with my wife, that she's the most important person in the world, what am I going to bring out in her? I'm going to bring out the best in her. Which is what I want as a husband, right? Because the biggest complaint about people that are married, if they're complaining, my spouse, blah, 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 blah. But if you shift your being, then that's going to bring out the best in them. And it's not about what she's doing for me, it's about how am I showing up for her.
It's good. Preaching.
Yeah. So that's something to just think about. So that's what I said to this individual. I said, prioritize your wife. And I said, do little things that you did when you first courted her. Writing little love notes, little things like that. So your spouse knows how important they are. All right, I got one more thing to share with you guys, and then we will wrap up. And this one is a money-making idea. So there's a lot of things that you could have your mind on during the day. And I want you to think about your real estate business, your title business as office hours. What are my office hours? So life shows up. And so in my family, I got 4 teenagers. And so at any given time, we can be having some issues happening in our house because the teenage years are not the easiest. So sometimes during my workday, something will happen with one of my kids. And so unless it's an absolute emergency, the house is burning down, that gets addressed after hours. And I'm going to keep my mind locked in on what I need to be doing for my business. So think about if you're doing real estate transactions, how many transactions per month on average do you want to do? And I'm just going to say the number 2, and some of you want to do more than that. If the number's 2 or whatever your number is, I would advise you lock in on that number, and anything that doesn't support producing that result, I would consider not putting energy into that. So inventory's a little tight around here nowadays, right? Interest rates kind of doing what they're doing, right? So if you're in your head worried about the interest rates, that's a normal thing, or if you're worried about the inventory, or if you're worried about anything during work hours, is that going to help you do the 2 transactions or hinder you? So what if you said, you know what? I focus when it's office hours, and I don't entertain these other thoughts. You know, you keep that like 90% of the time. Is there anybody here in the room that goes, you know what, I need to be focusing more on producing during my office hours? Does that resonate with anybody? Now listen, that's a choice. You could just choose that right now. If you chose that right now and you did it for a year, what would happen to your production? See, that's a choice. So that's my message that I wanted to share, and I'm going to turn the meeting back on over to Johnny.
Awesome. All right, everybody, just give me 2 seconds. Brent was going to speak, but he gave me his notes. Doggone, my thing is, there we go. Let's rock with that. Let me move this over here, Eric, so that way you can see. So I'm going to have to channel my inner Brent, which is pretty much like oil and water, but we'll do what we can.
You want to borrow some flip-flops?
Borrow some flip-flops, and I need to drink 3 espressos. So, all right. So here's what he did. Leadership. He wanted to speak on leadership. Leadership isn't just for people like Brent or like Barry that have teams, right? It's for all of us. Leadership is how you influence other people, and how it relates to us and our businesses is our clients, right? Getting them to write the offers, getting them to list their house, getting them to do the price reduction, getting them to accept the request for repairs. That comes down to leadership. And essentially, leadership is the ability, as Brent wanted to define it, is the ability to create and maintain relationships in its most basic sense. Create and maintain relationships. Create and maintain that relationship with your client. If that relationship goes away, then that client goes away, right? Or maybe you don't get a referral or the repeat business. So it's create and maintain, whatever, relationships.
Write that word down, Barry. Maintain.
Maintain relationships, okay? So there's 3 types of leadership. The first one, this is the one many people, including myself, tend to fall into. Any guesses on what this first one is? The most basic form of relationships. Vacation?
Communication.
I was like, I like that. That should be one.
Vacation.
No, it's
Position.
It's not communication.
transactional.
Oh, I like the communication.
Transactional relationships. This is where a lead comes in, you work the lead, they close, you never talk to them again, they never talk to you again, you pass awkwardly in Trader Joe's going, oh yeah, I know your work hours, I know your finances, but we haven't spoken in 6 months, right? That's transactional. That is the lowest form of communication. Let's get a better pen. Any guesses on number 2, since you kind of see the theme now? Well, that's just as bad. Any guesses on the second type of relationship? It starts with an R.
Recreation.
3 for 3. Recreation is close. You got it. Was that Steve? Way to go, Steve.
Thanks, Brent.
Did you already talk to him about
I've
it?
heard Brent say this before, but
You have, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so here we go. So relationship. This is where you have their back, they have yours. So think of an example of a transactional relationship would be a client. A relational relationship with a client may be somebody who refers you business every now and then. Like I would consider my relationship with, for example, Barry to be relational. Like he helps me, I help him. We're friends, like we're close, right? That's a relationship, right? That's the next step up. So think about how much your business could improve if you had relational relationships with your clients. It wasn't just purely transactional. Or if you want to do agent attraction, how much, if you've only sat across that agent and done one transaction with them and that was it, there was nothing deeper, are you likely to lead them? Are you likely to influence them? Right? But if you have a relationship with that individual, there's more possibilities there. Can we agree? Okay? And the third thing, for those of you who've heard this talk before, any guess on what the last form of relationship is? This is like the deepest. Mentorship, very close. You got the last one, so you can't be a winner every day, but transformational.
Yeah.
Now, a transformational relationship, this might be going a little bit far as clients go, but you can certainly do this with agents, maybe with clients. Maybe you help that single mom get into a house that she never thought she would get into. She's been renting for the last 30 years. Maybe there's an agent and they're struggling, and you have an impact on their life that all of a sudden changes the trajectory of their business, right? So I'm starting to think about transformational relationships in my own life. Or how about this? How about a spouse? That could be a transformational relationship. But you see how the level of influence increases as you go down the levels. So, any ideas? How can you go? So we've talked about this a little bit. I don't want to go too deep on it. Like I don't want to draw it out. But any suggestions? How do you go from transactional to relational? Shout some answers out. How do you go from level 1 to level 2?
I think communication. Yeah.
Communication? Okay. So let's do this. Communication. All right. That is absolutely fundamental. What's another one? Consistency. Was that you, Jen?
No, that was me.
Lexi! Communication, consistency.
Environment.
What do you mean by that, Zach?
Well, to create a relationship, if me and you sit behind the table the whole time, we're just, it's a transaction almost. But if we go out and hang out together, like go bowling or get our makeup done.
Oh, you can get your makeup done?
Yeah,
Oh,
something like that.
so nice.
We could all have a cup of tea.
Oh, tea.
Me and you create a relationship. So I think an environment does change that.
Okay, so spending time together, like
Yeah.
environment.
Yeah, I remember have a wonderful relationship with Barry because me and Barry hung out one time at Christmas.
Exactly. That's a really good, and it's an experience. So create an experience with them. Maybe after you go out and you're showing them houses, have lunch with them. Don't just say, hey, oh, we got to go get lunch. Okay, you eat lunch over there. We'll get lunch over there. You know, like what if you sit down and break
Just let
bread?
them buy, because almost every time I bought lunch for somebody, they didn't buy a house.
Or it's
At least
because you
it
went
feels
out
that
or it's because you went out to lunch with them. Maybe that.
Just don't drink too much when you're on that working lunch.
Yeah.
Right? That might be a thing. All right. So that's how you can go from level 1 to 2. But how do you really start impacting them on a transformational level?
Haley
Caring.
Lance in the chat box said giving value.
Oh, give me that.
Yep. Giving value. Good. Thank you, Heather and Haley. So the big T, right? Give value.
I think actually caring.
Caring. Absolutely. I think that's really where a lot of it comes.
Buying lunch.
Lunch, maybe relational's lunch, transformational's dinner. You know.
And a nice
Switch from real estate to dating, right?
Yeah. But I really think it means putting yourself out there and being vulnerable and giving more than you get, right? So somebody who's been transformational in my life is obviously, in many of our lives, is Brent, right? So when I think of a transformational human being, think of how Brent acts. What does he do? He gives, he gives, he gives, he gives, he gives.
It's a servant mindset.
Servant.
Mm-hmm.
Servant heart. So servant's heart, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. And without the expectation of getting anything back. And you're there when they need them. Like you're reliable. Okay? So just remember the 3 levels. Hopefully I was able to communicate half effectively as Brent typically does. But there's 3 levels: transactional, relational, transformational. Now, there are some relationships where you just don't even want to be transactional. Like, get this dude out of my life, get this client out of my life, never see them again. Right? Just leave it transactional. But for those ones that you see potential in, be willing to go deeper. Go deeper through communication, consistency, giving value, and honestly just caring, having that servant's heart.
I think that's the difference too for transitioning your business to getting much more referrals is the communication and the caring.
Absolutely.
And even attracting other agents, right? Like find a way to give them compliments and tell them when they're doing a good job or whatever it may be, but that's how you transform the relationship too and get more referrals, which just makes business a whole lot easier.
You bring up a good point. Who here has read the book 7 Levels of Communication by, I think it's Michael Mayer, right? Fantastic book. If you have not read it, I read it like last night in like one quick sitting. It's really, I listened to it, if that counts. I listened to it in one quick sitting. It's absolutely transformational. We'll put it in the chat box. Jerry, put it in the chat box with the link, please. But essentially, what they're talking about in 7 levels of communication is going from transactional to relational to transformational. With your clients, with your family, with your friends, just with everybody. Fair enough? Any questions on this? Anything you want to add? All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for showing up today. That's all we have planned. See you at $100 million next year, right? Or next week. I know. A lot of things. Thank you everybody for hopping online.
Share again on every